And it's 1 p.m. time for the marketplace with me, Charles Aite. Here's what's coming up this hour. We assess what is accounting for the city's firm stability on the market over the past few days. Of some former workers of defunct fund management companies who are begging for government intervention over their outstanding salaries and severance packages. And the National Lottery Authority is to commence fresh prosecutions of unlicensed lotto operators. We'll hear from its Director General. Hello once again. Let's take a breather. We're back with the details of these stories. And you're welcome to the marketplace. Now, the Ghana cedi continues to stabilize strongly against the dollar for almost 7 months now. Data secured from the Bank of Ghana puts the rate of depreciation at a little over 1%. Now, this is far better than the 10% recorded in the same period for last year. We're joined via Zoom by economist Courage Marty to help us make sense of the implication of this development on the economy. Welcome, Marty, for being with us here on the program. First of all, help us understand your independent assessment of what is accounting for the city's firm stability against major currencies.
Well, there are a number of issues. We have mainly the fact that the central bank introduced into the market FX forward options onto the market since late last year.
Is there energy there?
We discount. Can you hear me?
Great. Well, you know, Ghana's intervention has been very much strong when it comes to government, various, interventions to stabilize the city in that particular regard. How do you rate the intervention so far to make sure that we stand tall in terms of the currency against the dollar?
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful, and I think we'll rate it top notch because the mode with which the central bank operates their forward auctions is very unique. Because when they auction the dollars, they do not supply the dollars today because they forward auction. However, they take off the cedi equivalent today, and that limits the amount of cedis available for you to use to disturb the currency on the market. So that operation helps the cedi maintain stability before the supply side even comes into play. And then again, we also have to recall that before the pandemic, we already struck a $3 billion Eurobond that came through. Then during the pandemic, we got $1 billion from the IMF, $350 million from the World Bank, and something from the African Development Bank. Now, what foreign investors have seen by this regard is that for the short term, our FX needs have already been catered for. And for that matter, they are not punishing the Ghana cedi. So that has helped the Ghana cedi to be this stable for this long. And we expect that this stability will be sustained to the end of the year, despite the risk of elections.
That's kind of a very risky projection there. But what do you think managers must be doing currently to sustain the city's good run against the dollar?
Well, management, lies rightly in the hands of the central bank. So what they must be careful about is that despite the shortfall in government revenue and the need to step in to fund the government budget, we must keep an eye on the FX development so that it would not cause a destabilization of the stability we've already seen. And so whilst there's a need for central bank to step in like it's been done around the world to support government budget, we must also be cautious and proceed with caution because there could be an FX consequences of the excess liquidity. So you would want the central bank to support the government but proceed with caution with an eye on the exchange rate because it comes back to haunt inflation if the exchange rate loses stability.
Courage, we're grateful that you joined us for that analysis. He's an economist with DataBank. Now, the National Lottery Authority, NLA, says it will commence another round of prosecution of unauthorized lotto operators in the country. Now, according to the authority, this has become necessary as its attention has been drawn to new cases of fraud In an interview, Director General of the NLA, Kofi Osei-Ameyaw, cautioned the public against these miscreants.
As you may be aware, in Ghana, the National Lottery Authority is the only authority that is mandated by law to conduct or operate Lotto. So anyone who operates Lotto without the NLA giving them a license is prohibited. And obviously, there are some people who are operating without license. So those are the ones I was talking about. And if you stake on a piece of paper and you win and they are unable to pay and you come to NLA, we shall not be able to assist you. But we are calling on them to come in and get their license so that when they stake, we can all come together and pay. We have had a meeting with the private Lotto operators and have come to an agreement that they all have to come to us and get a license, and we'll give them the machines to be able to operate business as usual. We need to be able to regulate, monitor their activities so that we know those who are operating, so that when somebody stakes at a particular vendor's kiosk and they win, we can pay their wins. We cannot let the public go and stake Lotto and it's written on a piece of paper, and then tomorrow when we draw the numbers and they win, you go to the place and the person is disappeared. Simply because we don't have any records or data on them. It is upon that basis that we are calling all those who are in the business to come, and then the new ones who want to join, come. We will give you the necessary machines or equipment to be able to do your work.
And you're still watching The Marketplace with me, Charles Aite. Now, imagine losing your job and having no idea where next your daily bread or income will come from. It gets even depressing when your employer happens to be one of the defunct fund management firms collapsed under the financial sector cleanup. Well, this is a story of about 300 former workers of the collapsed fund management firms appealing to government to pay their salary arrears and severance packages immediately to alleviate their long suffering and, of course, the predicament they find themselves in currently. We are joined by the representatives to help us understand the clear situation on the ground. And many thanks, gentlemen, for being here with us. These are hard times, we understand. But Theophilus, you are the public relations officer. You speak for the aggrieved, ex-workers. How bad is your situation?
Thank you for the opportunity, Charles. And let me say good afternoon to your Charles viewers. Charles, it's been 2 long years of suffering. The staff of the ex-staff of the defunct fund management companies, we are really suffering. We've been suffering and we are still suffering. We are still suffering because in the process of the cleanup, we lost our jobs really. So in November 2019, our regulator, Securities and Exchange Commission, revoked the license of about 53 companies.
Exactly.
So we lost our job. So since then, we are at home. Many of us are at home, and our situation is bad.
So what do you do? You're home doing what?
Nothing.
How do you cater for your family?
Well, we've been dependent on family and friends for the past 2 years, and we've just got to the end of the road. We can't continue anymore. We are suffering.
Let me bring in Patrick. Patrick, which particular collapse firm were you previously working with?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I was with Macaulay Capital.
Okay.
Yes, and similar to his, our license was also revoked in November. We are here first and foremost, not for ourselves, but also for the rest of our colleagues. Some have been able to find things to do. Some of us, fortunately, have some little things that we are doing with the support of family and friends, but it doesn't apply to the entire group. So we here, just as my brother said, to appeal to the government. We've had some discussions with them. I think we met SEC some time ago, but we are appealing to them that once that they've started attending to the customers, they should also attend to us. And one thing we'd also want to add is that BOG has already gone through this process. And so we believe SEC can take a cue from them and speed up our process without having to delay us so much.
Well, Theophilus, have you exhausted all the needed channels? We do know the Registrar General is currently, the official liquidator. Have you exhausted discussions with them so far?
Yeah, we are in talks with them, and what we want is that we want the process to be quickened, to be sped up, because we've been at home we've been suffering for the past 2 years. And let me quickly say that we also have feelings, or we appreciate the government's effort in trying to pay our customers. We have a relationship with them, and we still talk to them. In fact, even today, this morning, I've taken about 4 calls from our customers. So we appreciate the fact that the government is trying to put in an effort to start paying them. But what we are saying is that we also, as staff, before the revocation, after the revocation, we've been suffering. So please, government, this is a special appeal, really. A special appeal to the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He being the president of the country, a compassionate for that matter, and a listening president, for him to come to our aid, make some funds available to pay us, the ex-staff, especially our severance package and salary arrears. Severance package because a lot of us are still at home, as my colleague said, but we want to start something. We want to start something our own, move on with our lives. But what do we need? We need money. So that's why we are pleading with the government to get some funds available, make some funds available so that we can get our severance package paid, start something on our own, and move on with our lives.
Your final words, gentlemen.
Okay. We believe that the government is doing very well. We initially didn't take this direction because we believe customers too are key. They keep calling us and we felt they should be attended to. But just as I said, now BOG has successfully gone through the exercise. We've heard that they've even decided to pay all the customers who were on bonds cash payments,
exactly,
which some of them have confirmed. So we believe SEC can take a cue from what BOG is doing without having to reinvent the wheel and look at the structures they use to be able to settle us as quickly as possible.
But your case is a sympathetic appeal.
Yes, for now.
Which means that it could be adhered to, it could be listened to, it could not be listened to. Looking at the alternative, the negative side, what happens if, your case is not heard?
No, for now, the President of the Republic has shown and demonstrated through this COVID time that, and by the way, the COVID made our situation even worse. Do you imagine?
I can imagine.
Exactly. So the President has shown that he's a compassionate president, he's a listening president, and joy news, joy business gets results. So we know that the President is listening, and he will definitely give in come in to help us. So that's exactly what we are saying.
Okay, gentlemen, we're so grateful for your time. We shall follow up a story to give you updates as and when we do have them. But these are ex-workers of the defunct fund management firms. They're raising their concerns with us regarding unpaid salaries and the severance packages as well. Let's move on to other stories now, because the Ghana Revenue Authority, as part of its corporate social responsibility, has presented some medical items and locally manufactured solutions to the medical reception station for the 1st Battalions in Michel Camp. Now, the initiative comes at the time when the medical facility has been heavily involved in the fight against COVID-19 with little resources. There is more on this in this special report. The gesture forms part of the mobilization drive by the Ghana Revenue Authority to help fight the global pandemic in order to get economic activities back on track. Some of the items donated include alcohol-based hand sanitizers locally manufactured from the customs lab, paper wipes, and other medical items. After a short ceremony to present the items to the medical facility, Assistant Commissioner of the Commissioner General's Secretariat, Joseph Odroyeboa, noted that the GRA is not only interested in the collection of taxes, but as well the well-being of the citizens in order to go about their businesses.
Part of our social responsibilities. Every year we select some of these medical facilities and we do donations. So it's one of our social responsibilities, activities that we perform. And then also, yes, I said we are not in normal time, and suddenly as an institution we have a lot of institutions writing to us for support, and we really assess the needs of these institutions. And I think that this facility and was one of the institutions we selected to support in this time of COVID.
Medical officer of the facility, Captain Kelvin Amedo, who received the items on behalf of the station, is confident that the product will go a long way to support the hospital in fighting the pandemic.
Fast Hospital Clinic, this health facility has been very much involved in COVID-19 management. And I want to say these hand sanitizers, the detergents, and all other items that have been brought to us today will be put to good use to ensuring the highest level of care to our patients. Thank you very much.
The medical reception station serves some parts of Tema and the military camp. Now, the Labour Commission is lamenting the inadequate funds, which makes it difficult for the Commission to carry out its administrative work. Now, Executive Secretary of the Commission, Ofosu Asamoah, tells Joy Business that although the Finance Ministry meets the budget requirement of the Commission, the cap placed on it means that they've had not to operate with the limited resources. He spoke to Nicholas Brown.
About close to 5 million.
Close to 5 million,
I'm sure.
Ghana cedis.
We had about 3 million or so for goods and services. And then we have had the capex, that's $1 million. And, as for the other salaries and disemoluments around here, they are there.
So you don't have issues with funds when it comes with when it comes to funding?
For the time being, no, I can't complain. Because we are giving budget ceilings. As I talk to you now, we did our technical hearing. I made my presentation last week. You see, on the budget. We have been giving a ceiling that yes, this year this is your ceiling. You will be giving 130, let's say 1.3 million for CAPEX. That is for your investment, purchase of machinery to work. We are giving you, let's say, 1 million for goods and services, right? That is going to have meetings and other administrative expenses. So that is for us to budget within. We are giving the ceilings. So if you don't go program yourself within the ceilings, like in the local parlance, they say cut your coat according to your size, then you might be in trouble. But we have been able to manage. In several years, they used to be without lights. There was no money to buy lights, sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks. But for the past 3 years, I must say, we've never had that. Our lights have not gone off for 1 day.
Great. Now, does the money come early?
Oh, yes, I mean on time.
It comes on time?
On time, yes.
Great. So when it comes to funds, we have no issues with funds. Now,
you see, but like I said, that we need to employ more people. But because of the ceiling, we are getting financial clearance to employ is a bit difficult. As I talk to you now, we need a budget officer to assist us in our budgeting. We have to get, because we have regional offices, we should have a regional cost center so that we can budget for the reason they have their own decision. But because we don't have clearance to engage accounting personnel in the regions, all of them will have to rely on the head office. So they have to go and buy a brush and then send invoice here, then we pay. And so sometimes it makes a bit of delay in the administrative processes and effective functioning.
A team of technicians from the Africa World Airline yesterday visited the Ho Airport to assess the possibility to ply the route. Now, the Chief Safety Officer of the airline, Captain Kwesi Otin, said it was regrettable that the government didn't inform them on the handing over of the airport and its readiness for commercial flights to kickstart. According to him, the company was satisfied with the level of infrastructure and that a team would be consulted to explore the possibility of commencing commercial flights soon. We'll be bringing you more updates from the CEO in our subsequent bulletins. just saw was a quick take on development at the Ho Airport and its operational facilities. Well, just before we leave, MTN Ghana is very much bent on arresting issues of fraud in its mobile money services. The Chief Executive, Selim Adedivo, has been speaking to George Riafi on the business edition of PM Express on some artificial intelligence being adapted to arrest the situation in 2021.
If there is a way for a bank to know that this specific individual was barred from the telcos because they did fraud, then they can also block them on that side. So, we have to have a much broader coordination if we're really going to arrest this, fraud situation in Ghana, right? But, obviously we have to take the lead, and we're putting a lot of effort in fighting this. We're also going to the point where we're now looking at other technologically driven mechanisms to be a little bit more effective in predicting trends, looking at networks of fraudsters to identify other fraudsters using artificial intelligence, for example, and using all these patterns and technology to help us be more effective. Today, if someone reports a fraud case, it's one number, and I block that one number. I blocked one person. But that person exists in a cohort of, say, 15 other fraudsters or 5 other fraudsters. And for the arrests that we've made so far, people work in groups of 5, 6, 10, depending on the size. So if you have some of these tools, then when you get one number reported, you can detect 5 to 10 other numbers that are also participating in fraud, and you can immediately eliminate them.
Now, whenever we're talking of industrial parks, what many of us might be thinking of are factories and manufacturing firms. But this time around, the National Chamber of Pharmaceuticals is pushing for a special industrial park which is going to make sure that pharmaceutical companies could manufacture local drugs here in the country, and of course, in that effect, reducing the cost of medicines in that regard. Let's listen to the president of the chamber.
It marks another important chapter in the history of ensuring that Ghana produces over 60 to 80% of medicines, that we consume locally. That is the reason why the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy and LMI Holdings Limited, the managers of the Dawa Industrial Zone, for the establishment of the pharmaceutical enclave is a great milestone for the local pharma industry and for Ghana. Nana Chiama. Let me quickly add that the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy will be establishing a special purpose vehicle, SPV. I'm sure you are aware of a lot of SPVs that are floating in the system. And ours will become a legal entity for investing at the pharmaceutical enclave. The SPV shareholding will be open to members of the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy and the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association of Ghana, as well as interested investors. The SPV will establish a subsidiary company through joint ventures that will provide critical support services at the enclave, such as common effluent treatment plant, incineration services, bioequivalent, and other analytical services.
Before we leave, the Center for Coastal Management of the University of Cape Coast has bemoaned the near collapse of the fisheries industry. According to Director of the Center, Professor Dennis Wolanyo Aheto, excess capacity across the industrial and artisanal fishing fleets leads to overfishing, of course, which is killing the industry. Here is our quick take for today.
Ghana as a country should not be importing fish. We should look at targeting the export market where we can then export to the benefit of the country, because it's about Ghana's socio-economic development. And there are other associated issues. If we lose our fish stocks, what then happens? I mean, we have about 3 million Ghanaians, about 10% of Ghana's population that is dependent on fish. And what that means is that we're going to have about 3 million people along the value chain who will not have access to livelihoods. And by implication, it means that we are letting out about 3 million people putting them out of jobs. And this is a national security issue.
And that's a valid call for a revamp of our fisheries industry. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. I'm Charles Aite. Coming up next is Election Brief with Gifty and Pierre. Do stay.